Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes. Thank you all for joining. We'll give some minutes for more people to join after. Hello, everyone. If you know someone that should be here in this session and shouldn't miss it, please nudge them so they can be a part of this session. Our facilitator is on ground already and willing to share with us from our wealth of knowledge. Please, let's nudge all those we invited. If you know someone that should be here in this session and should. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Please confirm you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right, thank you so much. You're all welcome to Career Life Nigeria monthly mentoring session. This is a session where we entertain all requests from community members that relates to career issues. We live by our mission statement, which is to help people achieve measurable success in their career. And one of our programs is this free monthly mentoring session we usually hold. And for the month of October, we'll be looking at handling rejection. So on the community group earlier today, I shared that we should come to this session with the worst breakup line you've ever received. It might be in your relationship or it might be career-wise. What's the worst breakup line you've ever heard or you've ever used on someone? Please share in the comment section, and of course, would have to choose which is the best. People will choose, those on this call will choose, and then would there'll be airtime recharge for that person, right? Once again, you're all welcome, and the facilitator for today is Adama Uguna. If you're familiar with Career Life Nigeria, you know that she's a helping and very resourceful to the organization, and we are glad that she honored our invitation to be here. Just briefly, I would read our profile. Trust me, we can't exhaust our profile, but for the sake of this program, I'm just gonna be brief about it. And of course, you can always connect with her on LinkedIn, and you will not regret doing so. Adama Iguna is a versatile human resource executive with technical expertise in corporate HR policy formulation and drafting, strategic workforce planning, personnel and change management. As a lawyer, she brings on board logical reasoning, persuasiveness, and sound judgment in charting HR strategies, policies, and culture for organization and employee fulfillment. She has over 7 years of professional work experience, which spans across law firms, port terminal operations, information technology, and social enterprises. She's a member of the Nigerian Bar Association and a professional in human resources international. Key areas of expertise includes, but not limited to, HR policies and compliance, HRIS technologies and administration, project management, talent management and retention, contract drafting, and negotiation. Currently, she's the HR lead at Imperial Homes Mortgage Bank. Thank you very much, Adama, for doing this with us. Please, you have the floor. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Temi. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon, and I am so glad that everybody is here. We are not going to take too much of our time. We're going to dive straight into the subject matter of today, which is handling rejection with grace and grit. Please, I want to be sure that I can be heard clearly. If you can hear me, please, could you just raise your hand? Just signify by raising your hand. I want to be sure that you can actually hear me before I start sharing my screen. Temi, can you hear me? Okay. I can see someone signifying that she can hear or he can hear me. Okay, no problem. I will just go straight. All right, okay, fine. Let me just share my screen then. Okay. Okay, let me do this. Just give me a minute. Okay. All right. So, like I said earlier, the subject for today is handling rejection with grace and grit. A lot of us are very familiar with rejection. In fact, as a matter of fact, once you are in a career, once you are in a 9-to-5, so to speak, and that there is need for you to apply for jobs, go for interviews, there is a very high likelihood that at some point you have been rejected, you've gotten a rejection email, or you were ghosted. I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with that. However, this afternoon, we're going to be talking about how do you manage rejection? How do you handle rejection? Because even aside from career, even aside from our career, even in our day-to-day life, even in our relationship with people, in our relationship with our family members, a lot of us face some sort of rejection. No. When somebody says, please, can you do something for me? And you say, no. No is the most common form of rejection. And it's something that happens on a daily. But we're going to limit this to careers. Now, I want to go, okay. Pre-interviews. A lot of us are familiar with job interviews. What are job interviews? Job interviews are strategic conversations between a job seeker and either the HR representative or the hiring manager. What do we mean by strategic conversations? This is a situation whereby a job seeker, you've sent in your CV, and then you've been invited for an interview. There's often an HR person there. And of course, the hiring manager. The hiring manager is the person whose unit or whose department that you are coming, where there's a role, where there's a gap. The hiring manager is the person whose unit you are coming in to fill. So those job interviews are basically conversations. The hiring manager and the HR manager, they're trying to find out that you are actually well suited for this role. And at the same time, you, the job seeker, you are also interviewing them, trying to convince yourself that, okay, I am actually interested not just in this role, but also in working in this organization. Interviews are designed to assess a job seeker's suitability for the role in a recruitment exercise. I just said that now. And it can take many forms. We are very familiar with the traditional forms of interviews, where people say, you get an email, dear Adama, this is to invite you for an interview on Monday, the 15th of October, or Monday, the 30th of November for an interview for the role of HR manager, customer service officer, whatever role you are applying for. Now, in the past, this traditional form of interview was always physical. So irrespective of where you are living or where the organization is located, there's an expectation for you to be present at that job interview. However, these days, traditional interviews can take different forms. It can either be physical or it can be virtual. A lot of us get Teams link for interviews, Google Meet link for interviews, even Zoom links for interviews. And this is actually a more preferred option because it takes away the time that it's going to take the job seeker to commute from wherever he or she is coming from to the venue, to the organization where the interview is going to take place. So the traditional interview comes in either the virtual form or the physical form. You sit down, your interviewers could be a panel of 3, it could be one person, it could be 2 people. They ask you questions, you communicate. This is what a lot of us are very, very familiar with. Another form of interview is also what we call the lunch interview. This interview is often organized for people in the C-suite. You know, when you want to interview senior management, you have a conversation with them, preferably over lunch or over dinner. You have a chat, you discuss with them. It's often a very informal interview session. People just sit down, have a conversation, and they want to also, so the idea behind these lunch interviews is to see you in a relaxed mode outside the formal work environment, because a lot of times C-suite executives are expected to be people who are bringing in business into the organization. They're bringing in business into the organization. So they want to see how relaxed you are, how relaxed you can be when you are having a conversation with, you know, customers, with prospective customers or business associates. Then, of course, we also have phone interviews. Phone interviews is a form of traditional. Also, the only difference is that you are not seeing the person who is speaking to you. The person puts a call across to you, has a chat with you, has a conversation with you, and then decides, okay, this person sounds suitable for this job and all that. And then we also have career fairs. A lot of us are familiar with career fairs, where it's organized. People come with their CV. A lot of recruiting organizations are there. Outsourcing organizations are there. Interviews are held on the spot and what have you. So career fairs is another form of interview. You come, you submit your CV, you look at what they have, they interview you on the spot. If you are suitable for the role, then they can progress to the next stage. And then we have apprentice interviews. Now, apprentice interviews are also a popular sort of interview. The only difference here between the apprentice interview and the traditional interview is that the The interview takes the form of you actually acting out the role you are being recruited for. For instance, if you are being recruited as a customer service officer or customer service assistant, as the case may be, you are put on the spot. A call comes in, and then the recruiter is watching to see how you are able to manage a role, how you're able to respond to a customer, how you're able to treat a customer's concerns or complaints. So that is what an apprentice interview means. Instead of asking questions, your skills are tested right there on the spot, because they want to see exactly how good or how competent you are in handling the role that they are filling for. Now, during the interviews, what are the expectations from you? Composure. You are expected to be composed. Put yourself together, sit properly, be relaxed. If you're not comfortable with the room temperature, you can always request, oh, this AC is a bit too cold for me, or the room is a bit too hot. Could you turn up the AC? The expectation is that you should be as composed as possible, because if you're not composed or if you're not relaxed, there is a likelihood that you will not be able to do your best in that interview session. Also, the minimal use of mannerisms. There's an expectation for you to lessen the use of mannerisms. And all that. Try as much as possible to lessen it. And how can you do this? This is through rehearsals. You can always sit in front of your mirror, not just for interview purposes, but also for communication purposes, for presentation purposes. Have personal chats with yourself to reduce the use of it can actually be a put off for some recruiters. And then learn to communicate. It's very, very important for you to learn to communicate, because if you're not able to communicate, you might not get the best during an interview. Now, what is communication? Communication is not just you answering questions. Communication is also you being able to speak to your interviewer. Because like I mentioned earlier, an interview session is a two-way traffic, so to speak, because as the interviewer is trying to find out if you are well suited for this role, you too, as the job seeker, you are also trying to find out what is their EVP here. Does it work for me? Does this organization look like a place I will fit in? So you need to be able to ask questions that answer your own concerns. And then when answering questions, give detailed but specific answers. Give detailed but specific answers. What do I mean by that? You don't want to go into a long-winded rant. Somebody says, tell me about yourself. And then you start responding, I was born in the year 1980. When I was young, I fell down on the steps, and this one. No, that is not what they want to know. What they are looking at is for you to tell them about yourself in relation to the role that you are recruiting for or you are being recruited for. So try as much as possible to give detailed but specific answers and avoid negativity. Negativity in the choice of words. You don't want to talk negatively about your previous employer. You don't want to talk negatively about your colleagues where you are coming from. You don't want to give the vibes that you're a negative person. So you have to be very, very careful in your choice of words, especially with regards to negativity. And your physical appearance, your presentation matters a lot. So these things are scored. They are all graded during an interview. Whether you are having a virtual interview or whether you are having the physical interview in an organization, your physical presentation goes a long way in speaking for you during an interview. Look neat, dress decently. You need to research the organization to understand what is their expectation with regards to your presentation. If you are going for an interview in a bank, you're not expected to put on maybe joggers or t-shirts or what have you. If you are going for an interview in a less formal, much relaxed fintech, maybe for example, like a fintech, you might be a little less formal than how you would dress if you are going for a bank interview. And then most importantly, speak to your CV. A lot of times when I see people advertising on maybe social media, let me write your CV, it's good. You might not know how to arrange your CV, but the problem becomes when you begin to put in your CV things that you have never done, things that you have no idea of, things you have never seen in your life. When questions are now asked, okay, you said that in 2021, you were able to do this and that, and you have no idea what the interviewer is talking about. It's going to give a negative impression of you. So try as much as possible during your interviews to speak to your CV. Okay. Now, post-interview. I'm just giving an insight on the interview process. You've concluded the interview, whatever stages, maybe 1-stage interview, 2-stage interview, 3 stages interview, depending on how the organization's recruitment process is. An offer is made to you. You get an email, congratulations, this is our offer, 100,000 naira monthly net for this role of customer service assistant and what have you. If you accept the offer, some organizations will schedule you immediately for a pre-employment medical test. Now, the idea for a pre-employment medical test for some organizations is to have a knowledge of your general fitness. And this is often important in organizations, in companies, in businesses that involve a lot of physical activity. They need to know, is this person fit for this job? You don't want to employ somebody to come and work as a factory supervisor or a factory officer, and then the person has a heart issue. The person cannot stand for long. The person cannot, maybe the person is asthmatic or the person has some certain health issues. A pre-employment medical test is to ascertain that this person is fit for this job, not just mentally, not just with what he has been able to convince you during the interview, but also physically. And then when the employment test results come out, you make an offer of employment. An offer is sent, the prospective employee signs the offer. Then the next stage, documentation and onboarding, and then the person becomes a member of the organization. What does documentation include? Sometimes you are asked to send in copies of your credentials, your references, your employment references, your personal references, your previous place of employment. The organization wants to carry out a background check to be sure that you are who you say you are. You've actually done what you said you've done. And then also information regarding your pension, information regarding your payee, for those who have a payee ID. For those who don't have a payee ID, they might have to create one for you. NHF, pension, like I said earlier, group life insurance, and what have you. And then, of course, the onboarding process. Now, this is a situation whereby an interview is successful. What of in a situation where not all interviews are successful? Because that is the truth. For every one job role that is being advertised, I got a notification from LinkedIn the other day that for every role that is advertised, there are about 50 or so qualified people who have applied for that job in the first 1 hour. So imagine where there is an opening for HR manager, for instance, and then you apply. What it means is that there are also 50 other qualified applicants. And so it means your chance to get that job is just 1 in 50, because the other people too are qualified for that role. And what I interpret to ultimately is that not all job interviews are going to be successful for everyone. And there's nothing we dread as much as rejection emails. When you see the famous, "We regret to inform you, we are sorry, we will not be proceeding with your application," or "Following a thorough review of the process, we have decided to discontinue with the interview process," and so many others. I'm sure there are even some that are different from what we have just written here. These are just some of the basic or the generic terms that are used, the generic statements that are used, when a rejection email is being sent out. Some will even be kind enough to say things like, "Oh, we're going to keep you in view. This role, you were good enough for this role, but this, give some reasons and what have you, and all that. We're going to keep you in view. If something else comes up, we'll be the first, we'll reach out to you, and all that." And then some just ghost you. You would have gone for an interview, you would have done everything, you would have spoken a lot, you would have felt that I've convinced them, and then that is the end. You won't hear from them again. You just ghosted. Nobody will hear from you. Won't hear from them. They won't call you. You won't get an email and all that. Those are some of the outcomes of some interviews. Not all job interviews are going to be successful. It's inevitable that you might get some rejection along the line, or you might be outrightly ghosted. Sad as that is. Okay, so moving on. What are the effects of rejection? Like I stated earlier, rejection can be communicated in various ways. It could be through email. We regret to inform you that following
Oh, I think we just lost our host. Please let's give some time to join us back. Thank you. If you're just joining, we are discussing handling rejection, and it's been educative so far. The facilitator has done well to take us through the processes involved from when you apply for the job, from pre-interview to the real interview process, and now what happens post-interview. So we want to see the effects. What happens after you do not get the job, after putting in all your very best. Please be reminded that there's a gift for today's session. As usual, how we do is every month. What is the worst breakup line you've ever heard or used on someone that is in line with our topic for today, handling rejection? What's the worst line you've ever heard or used on someone or a recruiter has sent you? Please share with us in the comment section. We will decide, all of us on this call will decide which is best or which wins, which has the most which is most hilarious, and of course you get to win anytime you charge, right? Thank you so much. If you have any question, please let's note them down or feel free to share in the comments, and our facilitator will do justice to that. Thank you. Our facilitator will join us in a minute. Thank you for standing by.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that. My network just stopped working. I really, really apologize about that. So I'm going to just start sharing my screen again. So just give me a minute to start sharing again. I really apologize about that. My network just stopped working. Okay. Okay, so I just need to be sure that you can hear me. Can anybody hear me? Just signify that you can hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
we can
Yes,
hear
I can
you.
hear
So
you.
I'm
I
very
can.
sorry about that. My network just stopped working and I was very surprised. I had to just look for an alternative to switch to. Okay. Okay, so I was just talking about the post-interview process or outcome, and I stated that not all job interviews are successful. Okay, and then I was talking about the effects of rejection. I talked about how rejection can be communicated. Job interview rejection could be through emails, it could be through phone conversations, or it could just be outright silence. Now, rejection can be very demoralizing, especially in a situation where you really, really need the job or where you have put in a lot of preparations. I know there was a time I was interviewing for, there's this law firm at Falomo, Alex. Yeah, I don't know if they're still there. I was interviewing for Alex. I had just been called to the bar. I was looking for a job. I had finished my NYSC. I had no job. I wrote the interview. We had done the first stage of the interview. I passed. I think it was can't remember what it was called. Is it a quantitative assessment or verbal reasoning assessment? I can't remember. But we had done that. I had passed. That was the first stage. We had done the second stage. So it was now whether or not we were going to proceed to the third stage. And I was waiting and waiting. I read everything about Alex. I read about their partners, everything. And it wasn't even now that you can just have your Yahoo Mail on your phone and just check. You have to be going to the cyber cafe every time to check. Has an email coming? Has an email coming? Eventually, I went to check as usual. And what did I see? We are sorry to. I felt so demoralized. I felt so bad. I felt so terrible because I had really put my mind in that job. I was really hoping that I was going to get that job. So rejection can be very demoralizing, especially when you don't have a job or when you've checked out the job, the company, maybe KPMG or Alex in this instance, or Shell or whatever organization. You're like, wow, I really love to work here. And then you now get that rejection email. It can be very, very demoralizing. And rejection at any stage of the interview can be very painful. Even when you just put in your application and then you get, sorry, we will not be proceeding with your application. You have not even been invited for an interview. It can be very painful. Like, you couldn't even give me an opportunity to come and sell myself. Or in an instance where you've already gone to sell yourself, you've gone, you've spoken, you've done this, you've proven to them that, look, I can do this, I can handle this, and then you're like, oh, sorry, there's a better qualified person. It can be very, very painful. And then it can also affect your mental state, your psyche, your morale. The truth of the matter is that if you get rejection emails in quick succession, you can ask yourself, what is wrong? Is something wrong with me? Am I underskilled? Am I underqualified? Am I not good enough for this job? It can actually affect your mental state and your morale. You begin to think things like, it's like I can't break into these big organizations. I can't break into the big four. I can't work in a bank. I can't do this. I can't do that. So if you're not careful, consistent rejection can affect your mental state. Let me give you an instance. Not too long ago, I interviewed for 4 roles in quick succession, 4 roles. The first one, I knew I was not going to get it because the interview lasted for 2 hours. In fact, it was an argument session. Myself and the founders were going back and forth, back and forth. So by the time the interview ended, I knew that no, these people are not going to, they're not going to call me back because they don't want someone that was going to challenge them. And true to my expectation, I didn't even hear, they ghosted me. I didn't get any feedback. The second one, I did like 3 stages. In fact, that one, I did the first stage. I did the second stage. I did the third stage. The third stage was supposed to be the final stage with the COO. That's 3 stages of an interview. Then I didn't hear from them. So I called the recruiter. I said, Alpha, give me feedback now. He said he was going to get back. Eventually, like a month, and these interviews were like every week. This week I did the first stage and they moved me to the next stage the next week. So the next week I'm doing the next stage. The third week they've moved me to the next stage. And then I didn't hear from them again for like a month or 2. And they called back and said, see, we're doing an internal restructuring. We have decided that we will no longer get an external person due to fund, so many reasons. That one ended. Now, the third one is probably the funniest to me because that one I had done the first stage. And then the second and the last stage, I was to meet the CEO. So I went and checked him on LinkedIn. I used somebody else's account so that they wouldn't know it's me. I checked him on LinkedIn. I checked some of the articles he had written. I read up those articles because I realized that at an interview with the CEO, you are no longer going to sell yourself. You're just going there to show him that you can work with him. The idea is that the HR people who have interviewed you are convinced that you can do the job. But for you to speak to the CEO, you're there to let him know that, look, I can work with you, I can align with you. I went and read up everything he has written, checked up his interests, what does he write about all the time, and what have you. I dressed up and went for the interview. When I got there, I saw him walk in, because I had done a lot of extensive research on him. I saw him walk in. I recognized him when he walked in. So I just sat down, they greeted him, and he passed. And not up to 10, 15 minutes later, someone came downstairs and said to me that they are so sorry that the CEO has not come in today, that he has a very serious meeting that he won't be able to come in today. My mind, I was like, wait, it's not the man that just, it's not this man that just walked past me here, But I said, okay, no problem. When will he be around? They said once he's around, that they're going to let me know. I never heard from them again. So, and this is for me, who is even an experienced person. That's how many? That's like 3. The 4th one, those ones even just ghosted me after the first. So the point is that no matter your level as a person or in your career, rejections can still affect your state of mind if you're not careful. It can affect your morale. You begin to think to yourself, what is all this now? What kind of life is this? So you have to also be careful so that it doesn't affect you. Now, how do you manage rejection, which is the crux of what we're talking about today? The first thing you have to tell yourself is that rejection is not personal. It is not personal. Try not to overanalyze what may be the reason for the rejection and start blaming yourself. Maybe if I had worn a black suit, why did I wear a red suit? Oh, why did I do this? No. Like I said earlier, I got a notification from LinkedIn a while ago that for every role advertised on LinkedIn, in the first 1 hour, 50 qualified people have applied. In the first 1 hour. So if you even see an application on LinkedIn and you are like, oh, I'm very suitable for this role, I'm well suited, this is basically what I do every day, and you apply, what it means is that going by LinkedIn statistics, you have 1/50 chance of getting that job. So it's not personal. Hiring decisions are not always based on your performance. The truth is a lot of factors influence hiring decisions. For instance, I'm recruiting for a role, and then my budget is 500,000 naira gross. And then I have 1, 2, 3 suitably qualified people. And then I ask person 1, a very good candidate, I say, okay, what is your salary expectation? And he says 700,000. And I'm like, is that the least you can do? What if I offer you something lower? And he says, no, I can't do anything lower than 700,000. I'm currently earning 650,000 and I want to earn 700,000. I'm like, okay, no problem. Thank you very much, sir. And then I go to candidate 2. What is your salary expectation? Excellent candidate. I can see that this person will fit into the organization. And I'm like, what is your salary expectation? And he says 1 million. I say 1 million. He says, yes. What is the least you can accept? And he's like, I'm currently earning 900,000. I cannot do anything less than 1 million. I'm like, okay, fine. Then I go to the 3rd candidate, good candidate, suitably qualified. And I say, Mr. Dennis, what is your salary expectation? And he says, 500,000. Who do you think I'm going to go with? I'm going to go with the guy that is suited to my budget. Does that mean that candidates A and B were bad candidates? No, they were very good candidates. They were well qualified for the role, but I can't pay them. The budget I have for the role is what I can pay. And if candidate C says 500,000, I'm going to make him an offer. I can't go and make an offer of 500,000 to somebody who says he cannot go beyond 1 million. Do you get the point I'm saying? I'm trying to pass across. It's not personal. Another reason could also be gender balance. For instance, I'm working in an organization and I want to recruit for a role. And I've looked at my staff within the organization. I can see that I have 50 staff, for instance, and I have 40 men and I have 10 women. And then I send out an interview invite. I'm recruiting, invite 5 people. And of those 5 people I bring in, there are 4 men and 1 woman. And all 4 of them are suitably qualified for this role. They are good candidates, strong candidates. That's why I invited them. I'm going to go with the lady because I need to balance the gender disparity in the organization. I need to balance it because I already have 40 guys working in the organization and I just have 10 women. And all 5 of them are qualified, but I will go for the lady. Does that mean the other guys are not good? No, they are very, very good, but I need to balance the gender within my organization. So I'll go for the lady. So what it now means is that I have 40 guys and 11 ladies. So I'm going to be looking to balance it within the organization. That's a decision that could lead to rejection after an interview. And that thing could also be diversity. Let me give another example. I'm working in an organization. We are 50 again. And out of those 50 people, 30 are Yoruba. Okay, let me say 20 are Yoruba, 20 are Igbo, and then 10 are drawn from all over Nigeria. And then I invite 4 people for the interview or 5 people for the interview. And all 5 of them are suitably qualified. 2 of them are Yoruba, 2 of them are Igbo, and then the third one is Ijo or Ishekiri. Who do you think I'm going to go for? I'm going to go for the Ijo person or the Ishekiri person because all 4 of them are qualified. All 4 of them are good enough for the job, but I need to balance the diversity within my organization because it's already heavily tilted between Igbos and Yorubas, and I have few ethnic groups scattered. I want to bring in somebody else to balance it, to balance diversity. So those are some of the factors that can lead to rejection. It might not really be about you. It might be about some internal factors, internal considerations. And then another last reason could also be, I work in a mortgage bank and I'm looking for a relationship officer. And then I get 5 candidates. 3 of them are working in commercial banks. 1 of them is working in the microfinance. 1 of them is working in the mortgage bank. I am by default, if the guy who works in the mortgage bank is as good as the others, I'm going to go for him because he already has industry experience. I'm not going to start teaching him about regulations. I'm not going to start teaching him about compliance and what have you, because he already has industry experience. So these are some of the factors that can influence rejection. And that is why you should have it at the back of your mind. That it's not personal. It's not because he does not like your face or because of the color of the suit you're wearing or because of your hairstyle. No, there are more important factors that can determine who is recruited at the end of the day. Now, rejection is not feedback. And I will explain this very clearly. That you did not get a job did not mean that you're doing things wrongly. If you notice on this, my slide, I emphasized that it is not always a feedback on your skill set. And this ties into what I said earlier, that rejection is not personal. However, you can also ask for detailed feedback politely if you want it, especially where you want to improve. It's very important for you to realize that rejection is not a feedback on your skills. It's not a feedback on who you are. If somebody says, oh, we're sorry, we will not be proceeding, it doesn't mean that you're not competent. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough at what you're doing. It could be any of the above reasons I've listed. At the same time, it could also be because you don't know what you're doing. You can invite somebody for an interview, look at the person's CV and like, this person is good though. He has done this, he has this experience, blah, 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 blah. And then when you now ask him, okay, how many days do you have to file payee? No answer. How do you file payee? No answer. How do you calculate pension? No answer. How do you do this? What is going on now? You're not qualified for this role because the person has overpromoted himself or herself in her CV. So in that instance, rejection is feedback on your skills. Now, another way to manage rejection is not to carry interview baggage with you.
I have a question.
Oh, okay. I thought we'll take the questions at the end, but you can.
Sorry.
Please, you can ask a
I'll...
question in the comment section. When she's done, we'll address your question.
All right.
Yep, all good. Yep. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Now, I was talking about interview baggage. Let me use myself as an example. I mentioned that I went for those number of interviews. You know, it's very easy for me to say, now wow, it's like I'm not good enough. Then when I now go for an interview, I'm now worried that they rejected me here, or they did this here, they did this here. It's called baggage. You have to approach new interviews from a fresh perspective with a positive attitude. That you were rejected in a previous interview does not mean that you're going to be rejected in the next one. Remember, you have 1% chance, 1/50 could be the person that they will choose for any of those reasons. So if you're going for another interview, maybe you've interviewed with a fintech and they didn't accept you. Now you're going for an interview in an advertising agency. Read up on the advertising agency. Find out how your skills match with the advertising agency. Then you go there with, a fresh perspective, a positive outlook. Because if you are going there thinking that, they've been rejecting me since, so why would this one be different? I promise you they're going to reject you. It's the same thing with relationships. Maybe you have been dating people, it has not been working out, and then the next person comes in and you're like, this one that they've done this thing to me in the past. at the bottom of your heart, you're already expecting them to serve you breakfast, Abby. You're already expecting to be served breakfast. The truth of the matter is that you will get the breakfast coming, because even if the person does not serve you breakfast, you on your own hand, you're going to get the ingredients and give it to him or her. Please take these ingredients and serve me breakfast. So that's how it works. You have to approach every new endeavor with a fresh perspective. So like I said, don't let it influence your state of mind, because nervousness will show, and every company has their own definition of an ideal candidate. Okay.
How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh?
Okay.
This one.
Is that
Tentacles.
okay? I think we need to mute. Somebody's mic is not muted.
I'm sorry, I'll mute. I'm sorry, I forgot about that.
All right, okay, no problem. Thank you. All right, okay, then there's how else
no
do you
worries.
manage rejection? Through continuous improvement. So you cannot stop learning. You can never stop learning. There are new information every day. And the best part of it is that this information is at our fingertips. You can't stop learning. Learning and development is a never-ending process in life. You have to keep your skills sharp. You have to keep your knowledge on industry trends up to date. What are they talking about in your industry? What are they talking about? What is the new Pension Act? What does it say about pension contributions? What does the new payee says? How do you file your annual returns? Is it the old way of filing annual returns? Do you have to upload it on the portal? What are you doing now? What is the new trend? You have to know these things. You have to continuously improve yourself in all areas of whatever you're doing. You can never stop learning. You can never stop reading. And being professionally active. What do I mean by being professionally active? Go for professional events, leave comments on LinkedIn, engage in conversations. And that way you find yourself positioning yourself for the next role. And of course, response.
Yes.
Where there is an email communication that's not an automated response, because sometimes
I'm gonna
come. Emails are automated. Please, can you mute your mic? Somebody is not muted. Okay, thank you. So where you get an email communication that is not an automated response, then you need to make effort to respond with grace and calmness. Because I assure you, when you get an email, maybe you've gone through 3 stages of an interview process, and you're like, you see the email, we are sorry, you can feel very upset. Why did you waste my time? Why did you know? Just respond, oh, thank you for your feedback. It is well appreciated. Oh, thank you, this is noted. Just something simple and graceful, and then you move on from there. Now, we are almost preparing yourself for the next interview. In an instance where you have experienced a lot of job rejections, you have to prepare yourself for the next interview. Review the job description. Make sure you read through and understand what the job description is. The duties, the skills, the tasks, the work, etc. Whatever work hours. Okay, I wanted to write work hours here. Now, let me give you an instance. There was a time I was recruiting for a legal officer. So I put out the JD, I put out the advert, everything. And then while we were reviewing the CVs, I saw somebody, I can't remember what he studied exactly. He studied maybe biochemistry or something. And then he applied for the job for legal officer. I was intrigued because I wrote it there clearly. Minimum qualification BL and LLB and BL. And this guy studied maybe biochemistry or industrial chemistry or something in the sciences. And you are applying for legal officer. So I just called him. I picked up my phone, I called him because I was intrigued. I said, good morning or afternoon, I can't remember. He was like, after. I said, are you so person? He said, yes. I said, you applied for the job of a legal officer in social organization. He said, yes, I did. I said, okay. When were you called to the bar? He said, the bar? I said, yes. When were you called to the bar? He said, what is the bar? I said, okay, no problem. I just wanted to be sure. Thank you very much for your time. And I'm like, is it that this young guy did not read the JD? If you're not a lawyer or if you have not been called to the bar, why are you applying for legal officer? So it's very, very important for you to look at the job description and ensure that you understand what they are actually looking for. Research the company, because they are going to ask you, what do you know about us? And they are like, I just heard about you yesterday. No, research the company, visit their website, read them up on Glassdoor, look at the reviews people drop on Glassdoor, look through their social media page, read up on their executive team. Who are their competitors? What is their work culture? These things are all available on the internet. Read up and research on the company. Then, most importantly, work on your speaking skills. Choose your words very carefully. Like I said earlier, avoid mannerisms. It can be very, very off-putting. Speak to the role you are interviewing for. Don't go and be talking about when you were working in customer care, now you are interviewing for quality assurance. No, speak to the role you are interviewing for and listen carefully to understand before speaking and answering questions. Careful listening is a skill. You need to listen. What are they actually asking? Tell me about yourself. They don't want to know that you were born in Ogba or you were born in Atianapaja. No, they want to know who you are in relation to the role you are interviewing for. Tell me about your work experience. They don't want to know about when you did this, except maybe you are doing volunteering, or maybe the work is tied to volunteering, or they're trying to look at your CSR, your understanding of CSR. You don't have to go after saying, oh, I used to do this, I used to do that. Except maybe an entry-level job. They're just trying to look for that you have an experience. But if you're looking for an experienced role, speak to what you are interviewing for. Try as much as possible to do that and ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask questions about an organization, because an interview is both ways. You want to know as much about the organization as they also want to know about you. You want to know that, do these people pay salary on time? What is the work culture? Why are people leaving? The last person, is this a new role? The last person that left, why did he leave? How long did he stay before he left? How are people leaving? You want to know, so that you will not come in and enter one chance because you want to leave a job. You also have to be very, very careful. And don't be afraid to ask polite and informed questions. Then, of course, CV details. It's very important for you to read and remember your CV. If you write something in your CV, I remember interviewing somebody. In fact, if you see that lady's LinkedIn profile, when we went to her LinkedIn profile, we were convinced that this is the person for us. She told us how she sold her mother's one thing, maybe Zobo or Kunu, I can't remember, but the thing was not selling again. And she came up with one or two skills and was able to sell it. And how she did this and how she did that, sharp. I reached out to her on LinkedIn. Will you be able to sell mortgages? She said yes, that she has sold this, she has sold that, she has sold that. I said, madam, please send me your CV. She sent the CV, invited her for an interview. So I was going through the CV. Then I saw a huge gap. I was like, okay, these things happen in life. So during the interview, I asked her, madam, between 2000 and so-so and 2000 and so-so, what were you doing? Honestly, I was expecting her to tell me something like, oh, I took a break from work, or I was having my kids. To me, it wasn't really going to be an issue because I know that life happens to people. But she had no idea what happened to her between a space of 5 years. What happened to you between 2010 and 2015? Did you have children? No. Did you take a break from work? No. Were you working on your own, owning a business? No. So what did you do between 5 years? No idea. Okay, you said you have sold this and this and this and this. How did you sell it? No idea. You know, it was a farce. Let me use that word. The whole interview was a fiasco, and I was embarrassed because I looked through her LinkedIn profile. I presented her that this is the next best thing since sliced bread for our sales team. Let's bring this person in. Oh yeah, how did you sell? What did you sell? She said she has sold property before. She has worked. Okay, how much property have you sold? No answer. You know, so why am I saying this thing? If you cannot remember what is in your CV, remove it. It doesn't make any sense for it to be there. Read through and remember your CV details because the interviewer is going to ask. Criticism. Why are you leaving your previous place of employment? I don't mind those people. They are very wicked. My boss is very wicked. It's going to count negatively against you. Try as much as possible to avoid criticism of your previous employer or your current employer. Why do you want to leave? Oh, I feel that I have put in my best here and I want to take my skill set to the next organization. I want to work in another industry. I feel like this is an opportunity for me to grow. I feel it's an opportunity for me to take on more responsibilities. There are a lot of things you can say without criticizing your previous or your current employers. Avoid volunteering your weaknesses. Emphasize your strengths and present your weakness in a positive light. Let me tell you my own weakness. As a person, my weakness is impatience. I want to get things done as quickly as possible. But I cannot go to an interview and they say, tell me about it. I say, see, I'm a very impatient person. No. I will tell them that, oh, I'm somebody who is very, very particular about working within timelines. I try to get things done as soon as possible or as quickly as possible. But it's basically impatience. Things that can take a bit longer, I try to do it immediately and get out of the way. But I'm not going to go and say I'm a very impatient person. No. Then you may also want to send up a follow-up email after an interview. For me, it doesn't really matter if you send up a follow-up email or not. In fact, I even see follow-up emails, and that's personal to me, as a form of bribery, because at the point of interview, I've already made up my mind if I'm going to recommend you for the next stage. So whether you send me a follow-up email or you don't send me a follow-up email, it doesn't affect my decision at that point of interview. But for some people, they might like it. They're like, oh, this person is actually interested in the organization. So you may also want, to follow up with an email. Finally, rejection should be a stepping stone. Don't let it define you. Don't say, oh, this is it. I've been rejected from KPMG. Deloitte did not accept me. Access Bank rejected me. Oh, what my woe betide me. No, let it be a stepping stone. Prepare yourself. If you are able to get feedback, fine. If you are able to get feedback, use that feedback to prepare yourself even better for the next stage. Now, do not dwell on it to the detriment of future opportunities. If you keep thinking, oh, they rejected me after 3 stages, oh, they rejected me, it's going to affect your attitude towards other opportunities. Because at the back of your mind, you are expecting that after all this one, they are going to reject you. So what you're likely to do is that you don't put in your best, or you just go there with a mindset that, well, anyhow, maybe they rejected me before, is it this one? Is going to tell. A lot of hiring managers have the ability to read body language. So it's going to tell. And like I said earlier, do not personalize it. Oftentimes, it's not about you. There are so many factors that determine hiring. So don't let it go. Don't say, that man, I did not like the way he was eyeing me. I recall somebody that came for an interview in our company, and he didn't get that job because of salary. But he was convinced, because I later became friends with him. And he was very convinced that the reason he didn't get that job was because one of the panelists was eyeing him up and down. I said, what is your definition of eyeing? He said the guy was looking at him. I said, that guy has big eyes. That's how he looks at people. He's not eyeing you. He said, no, that the guy was eyeing him. That he's sure. I said, okay, fine. If you are sure that that is the reason. But that was not the reason. He was asking for a salary that was bigger than what we could offer. But he was convinced that because of how this man was eyeing him from head to toe, that was why he didn't. Don't personalize it. Oftentimes, it's not about you. And don't make it the theme of your story. Don't make it the theme of your career story, the theme of your life. Oh, I was rejected by this person. Oh, I was rejected by that person. Oh, this one. Oh, that one. No. Let your life story, let your career story be positive, and don't build your sense of self around it. I think I've already talked about this before. If you're able to get detailed feedback, you can learn from it and grow. Oh, we're not able to proceed with you because you do not have adequate information about our industry. If it's an industry you're interested in, if it's a mortgage industry, I never knew anything about mortgage banking until I started working here. If it's an industry you're interested in, read up about it, learn about it, so that when next you have you get an opportunity to work in that industry, you know more about it. And then most importantly, continue learning, continue improving yourself, and continue improving your skills set. Thank you very much. I think I can take your questions now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adama, for that insightful session. We are honored to do this with us. Now we'll take questions. If you want to ask orally, please unmute yourself and ask. But if you want to use the chat box, please feel free to do so. But of course, let's appreciate our facilitator through the comments. Estella, thank you. Let's appreciate. Also, this video is streamed live to YouTube. If you want to watch it after today, you can always visit our YouTube page and watch the video. If you have any question, please signify so that we can take your question and move on to the next agenda. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, Yusuf. Any questions, please?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. My name is Ademola. Thank you for taking us through all the process that involve the hiring aspect of business. Is quite fascinating and interesting one. So thank you for your time. We really appreciate all the justice that you've done to every aspect of the hiring process. So I haven't said this. My question is just so simple. I just
Okay,
want to get to
I didn't hear
understand
you.
it.
Sorry, can you repeat that again? I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you at all.
I said, Okay, then at what stage can candidate know that okay, the hiring manager has ghosted him or her?
Okay. Okay, so so there are different stages to an interview. So normally people try to close roles as soon as possible. A recruitment process on the average shouldn't take more than a month. You understand? From the stage of sending you the first invitation to scheduling you for an interview, it shouldn't take more than a month. In fact, some people want to fill a role as soon as possible. But if after a month you didn't get any feedback from the hiring manager, a month and 2 weeks, maybe by that time you have sent an email, oh, this good day, so and so. This is just a follow-up to this interview. I'm here to get a feedback. And I promise you the hiring manager saw that email from you. If the person does not respond, a month and 2 weeks, 2 months, I think it's best for you at that point to also move on. However, let me also explain something. Where I also work, for some roles, we close as soon as possible. We only have 2 interview stages and then we close the role. And those interview stages will take between 2 weeks. But in some instances, we need to present your candidacy to the board, depending on the role that you're coming in with. And we cannot just convene the board and say, yeah, come, we want to employ somebody. No, we have to wait for the next board meeting. And the next board meeting could be in a month. It could be in 2 months. So what we normally do for candidates like that anyway is to inform them that, okay, you have scaled through these processes. The next process is with the board members. However, we don't know when the next board meeting will be. It could be in the next 1 month. So we communicate to them that, okay, within the next 1 month or within the next 3 weeks, as the case may be, there's going to be a board meeting. And so we're going to schedule you for that. Do you understand? So in that instance, the person knows that, okay, in the next 3 weeks or in the next 1 month, he's going to have another interview process. But aside from situations like that, ordinarily, if after a month, 2 months, thereabouts, and you would not hear from somebody, chances are that they've ghosted you. Chances are that person has not gotten an approval. It could be one of any. But if after 2 months, 3 months, no feedback, no response to your email inquiries, please, I think the person has more or less ghosted you, as sad as that may be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that one. I quite understood that, so it's a good one. So, and in addition to that, in a case, maybe somebody, a candidate have went through maybe the first stage, the second stage with maybe the CEO, and later they requested that okay, you should submit a kind of a case study slide, which you did. And since then, you didn't hear back from them, maybe like going to 3 weeks. Does that mean that candidate has been ghosted also?
No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that, because I promise you that as they have sent you a slide, a case study, you are not the only person that they are interviewing. Do you understand? And there are also other candidates. It could be as many as 5. It could be as many as 6, even up sometimes 10, that they've also sent those case studies. So in that instance, they might have a longer time trying to review the case study. And in some situations, it is not just the HR person who sent you the case study that is reviewing it. It could be the hiring manager. Do you understand? It could be the hiring manager who has sent the case study that the HR rep has shared with you. And so she or he, as the case may be, would have sent back your responses to the hiring manager. Okay, look at the responses that we have collated. Can you go through it? And I can tell you that in some instance, they've been following up with the person. Please go through this thing and give us feedback. Please go through this thing and give us feedback. However, communication is also important. Rather than keeping quiet, you can just send an email and say, okay, we're still on this process. I mean, the HR person could send an email, but a lot of times these people are very, very busy. They have other roles that they're trying to fill. They have other candidates that they're also trying to manage. So they might not really remember to start sending, update. So 3 weeks in a case study situation, I think it's not, you shouldn't jump to the conclusion that you have been ghosted, because most times they are waiting for feedback from the hiring manager, you understand, who is often the person who has set those case study for them to share with you.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you too. Okay, I think I have a question
Right,
here. Okay.
Before we move to the questions in the chat room, we have 2 people raise their hands. So in the order in which they asked, let's go for Yusuf.
Yeah,
Okay.
good afternoon. Good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. During the presentation, you gave us a case study. Like we have 40 in the organization already. We already have 40 workers, 40 staffs, 20 Yoruba, 20 Hausa. So you want
Yes.
another person. So now, does that mean that subsequent interview till the thing gets balanced, or it's just once in a while that kind of scenario comes in?
Okay, so okay, let me give you an instance. When I put out a job vacancy, since we all work in Lagos, and please, I don't want this to be translated as some form of tribal or tribalism or whatever. When I put out a job in advert, since we're in Lagos, the truth of the matter is that I'm going to get a whole lot more Southwestern candidates than, you understand, candidates from other organizations. So the same thing in the East. If I'm working in the East and I put out job vacancy, chances are that I'm going to get a whole lot more people from Southeastern Nigeria than those from other parts of the country. So it's not as if it's going to be continuous, because whether we like it or not, because of the nature of where we are presently, we are always going to have that. There are always chances that people from here are going to be more than people from here. It's not really an issue. But in our own instance, because I use the instance of my organization, our regulatory body is CBN. Do you understand? CBN and Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. And when they come during their audit, part of the things that they look at are, number one, what is your gender division? What is the gender balance? Why do you have 40 men and 10 women? Why do you have 50 men and 2 women? Why do you have only Yoruba people or only Igbo people? I don't know if you understand. So for me, things I'm looking at because of audits, when we have audits from our regulators. So it might not be permanent, because like I said earlier, if you put out a job vacancy, you're going to get a higher number of candidates from a particular ethnic group because of the location we are recruiting for. But it will now be totally different, or it will now be totally biased if you now present your staff list and everybody is from one part. Maybe because I'm an Igbo HR, all my staff are from southeast, or all my staff are from southwest. In as much as we have a lot of applications from a particular ethnic group, there will still also be candidates from other ethnic groups who apply and who are qualified. So that does not mean that I will not be looking only for Ijo, Ishekiri, Fulani, no. But I also need to have them in my workforce because of the regulators that we work in. I don't know if that makes some sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much, Adama. We will move to Martha.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Adama, for the presentation. You really hit the bullseye. Okay, so my question is, I know that you mentioned something concerning learning, continuous learning, and being available in professional conversations and posting on LinkedIn and the rest of that. But okay, so I would say that I've been doing HR for quite a while, and of course I have all the qualifications and all that. I have a master's degree as well, but I have something called, I'm working on a situation called examination anxiety. So that's why I have not even bothered to take any certification at all, because of the fact that I have to write an exam. The reason why is because I tried writing one exam one time. I'd already prepared so much for it, and at the end of it, I fell ill. So that just, canceled a lot of things for me. But then when it comes to learning and the rest of it, I take regular courses on LinkedIn and the rest of that. But I always, in short, as at sometime very close, I applied for a job that I know that I could do and everything. In short, I was a good fit for the role. I'm certain about that. But the fact that I didn't have maybe a certification was just the call out. And I'm looking at, is it the certification that defines us now as human resource professionals, or is there something that, it's one of those things that really bug people. So, and I would want you to maybe speak on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let me give you a little background to myself. My first degree is in law. Okay, my first degree is in law. I graduated in 2009, and I was called to bar in 2011. Okay, not so. Yeah, let me just say 2011 because my certificates reached 2011, but the actual call to bar date was February 14, 2012. Now, why am I giving you this background? Everything I learned, I spent 5, 6, 7 years of my life trying to become a lawyer. The expectation would be that, oh, she should be a magistrate, or she should be a senior partner or whatever in a law firm, but I'm not. I'm in HR. So even though my first degree has probably given me a bounce or a lift, to be able to make a career switch from legal practice to human resources practice, what differentiates me? It's those certifications. You understand? Getting becoming a member of CIPM and studying for the SPHRI exam, which I have done and also was successful at. So what's the point I'm trying to make? The fact that I went to the university for 5 years and I did an additional 1 year in law school does not actually give me the skill set required to be a HR practitioner. In fact, I see a lot of people just come out and say, oh, what did you study? I studied one random course. Oh yeah, go to HR. No. The idea behind those certifications is to give you a guide on how to actually function very well, excellently at human resources practice. That is why if you are not chartered, so to speak, you can't be a chartered accountant, you can't be an accountant. You can go to the university, study accountancy, but you come out and you are working towards becoming a chartered accountant. The same thing with engineers. For those who practice engineering, you come out, you're working towards getting your current certification so that you can become an engineer. So that is where certifications come in, because in addition to getting those certifications, those bodies that give you that those certification documents also engage in continuous learning. For instance, I get emails from HRCI. HRCI is the body that organizes the SPHRI exam, which I wrote and all of that. I get emails from them regularly on current HR trends, not just in Nigeria, outside Nigeria. What is happening in other countries? What is happening in other parts of the world? The same thing with CIPM. I get regular emails from them, updates on what is going on, new changes to the law, updates to the law, certain trends, and what have you. So the idea behind certifications is to give you a guide for you to know what are the current industry practices in this industry you're working in, because human resources is an industry. You wouldn't want to go to a place or a meeting with your colleagues and you don't know what the current pension contribution figures are. I'm just using random examples. You understand? But if you belong to these organizations, if you belong to CIPM and what have you, they'll be giving you this information from time to time. Even when you go for their knowledge sharing sessions, you get to hear this information. So those are some of the importance of belonging or getting some of these certifications, because it stands you out from the regular everybody goes that you see sometimes within the profession. And then also talking about examination anxiety. Let me use myself as an example. Do you know that I'm a very shy person. I'm an extremely shy person. You understand? But over time, I've gotten used to, I've learned how to cope with my shyness. I can't look people in the eye. When I'm doing a presentation, my legs are shaking and all that. But over time, I've gotten used to it. I can understand exam anxiety because of the circumstances that led to it, but you have to overcome it because you need examinations to progress. When I wrote my SPHRI examination, I was convinced I had failed. Like I was 100% convinced I had failed. I was thinking of all the amount of money I paid in dollars, everything I did. But when I saw the result, I had passed. So I can understand that anxiety, but you need to try. It might not be easy, but you need to try because you're going to need it to progress in life. You're going to need it to, you need to write examinations. You need to take courses to progress. So try as much as you can. You can always speak to yourself. If you're somebody around there, talk to the person, let the person have, continue to repeat to himself or herself, I can do this. I can be successful at this. I will pass this exam. Because you're an intelligent lady, you have a master's degree. It's not easy to have a master's degree. So that speaks to me that you're a very intelligent and smart person, even the way you speak. So examination anxiety is something that you can overcome, but you need to convince yourself. I can't do the convincing for you. I can only say 1 or 2 sentences as I am doing now. But at the end of the day, it's something you have to do by yourself. You have to convince yourself that I can actually do this. And before you know it, you find yourself enjoying examinations. Like I do enjoy examinations. Does that answer your question at least?
Yes, not at least, at most. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay, I think I can take the questions on the chat box so we can round up, right? Temi, can I take the questions on the chat box?
Yes, please, you can.
Okay, so how can individuals cope with the emotional impact of job rejection? I just have to tie it down to what I said. See, it can be a lot. It can be a lot, but you have to try not to personalize it. It can be a lot, especially when you have calculated, you've put in all your effort, you've done everything, and then boom, you are either ghosted or we're sorry to. It can be a lot, but you don't have to let it define you. We go again. That's why you see, if you are a history buff or a military buff like I am, you read some history books, you read some military books, they will face a defeat. Maybe they go on an offensive, and then the enemy or their enemies are pushed back. Soldiers will be dead. It doesn't stop them from going. Because okay, let me give you an example. D-Day, for those who may have heard about World War II, they needed to go and invade France because during the war, the capture some of the German machine guns there and then invade and enter Europe. So it can be a lot. Job rejection can be a lot, but you have to feed yourself. If for nothing else, you have to clothe yourself. You need a job to earn a living. So if you're going to now go and lie down feeling bad for yourself, I'm sorry to say, most people don't care. At the end of the day, it is you that you're going to decide that I have to be a better version of myself. It can be a lot. I absolutely agree, but you don't have to let it define you. Networking and building relationships can be yes, it's very important for you to network within your industry. I know a lot of people that I just send my CVs to. Please, I'm looking out. Do you understand? I also know people that send their CVs to me. Hey, Adam, I'm looking out for this thing. And I'm like, okay, if I see, I'll send. And then when I see, I send out for my friends, for people I know. So networking is not something you should take for granted. Try as much as possible to create relationships. Sometimes people can even just stay and say, oh, there's something, this opening at ABC company. Are you interested? You're like, yes. And then they push your CV. So it's is a valuable asset towards overcoming job rejection. In fact, some people even have like a group. Oh, I went for this interview. This didn't work out fine. This, okay, don't worry. If I see something, I'll push it in your way. That's how you'll be like, when did they recruit for this role? When did they close this role? Because of networking. Friends will just send out, there's an opening here, send me your CV. There's an opening there, send me your CV. That's how people network, and that's how people change jobs. So it's very, very important. Networking is not something the best jobs are not advertised though. Let me tell you guys, those jobs that pay mega amount of money is through networking that people can get it. What are some self-care practices that can help individuals stay motivated and maintain a positive outlook? See, you have to keep believing in yourself. That's the number one self-care practice. Now, believing in yourself is totally different from having an enormous ego with nothing to back it up. No. Number one, you're a graduate. That is the biggest asset you have, your first degree. Number two, over time, you have worked, you've gathered some skills, and you know that you can actually use those skills, in an organization. Number one self-care practice is believing in yourself. Believing in yourself. Always staying positive. Of course, how do you stay positive when you're getting job rejections? It's by believing in yourself. Talk to yourself. Don't give up. Don't give up. As flippant as it may sound, or as careless or casual as it may sound, the truth is that don't give up in every aspect of your life, personal life, religious life, even your career. You can't afford to give up. If not, you will remain stagnant. You have to keep trying. So number one self-care practice, in my opinion, is consistently, continually believing in yourself. I can do it. Adama, I can do it now. Oh, myself, Chichitam, or whatever your name is, I can do it. believing in yourself. By the time you have that can-do spirit, it translates to when you are interviewing in a job. And then protect yourself. Avoid negative threads. You go on Twitter or social media, you read some people's woe betide me story, you now start feeling bad. No, try as much as possible to avoid negative threads. Then, can I talk on cold emails? Yeah, cold emails work. Cold emails work, yes. Those emails, they kind of file it somewhere, especially if it is somebody that the CV is packed. And when an opening comes, they reach out to you. So cold email, send out and then let your email be specific. Dear Mr. ABC, I am a so and so person. I am interested in working in Deloitte. These are my skill sets. I have a first degree in law. I have 10 years experience in HR. I have this certification. I have this certification. Your business does ABC. And with all my experience, I am able to contribute CDE and all that. You have to properly sell yourself. No time for stories and all that. And yes, as an HR professional, I encourage cold emails because a couple of recruitment that we have done, we just go to the emails that people send to us, look at it and reach out to them. So yes, cold emails are things that is a thing. People do it and people get jobs straight. So if you can, send them out. Let it be detailed and show exactly what you can do, what you can contribute to the organization. So it's a thing that I encourage as a professional. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adama, for this session. I'm sure everyone got value for the time they've spent here. I have a question of my own, please, if you'd indulge me. Yeah?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So, say a case where you went through different stages of the interview process, right?
Yes.
And now you got the offer letter, right? And you've accepted. And you were on a job before, yeah? So you already resigned at your previous job and you accepted this new job offer. And they come with a sub-story that they are structuring something. You know how recruiters do, you're a recruiter yourself. There are doing some internal structuring, and so they would not be able to go ahead. And I've left my job already for this new one. Can I sue them?
Yes, well, you can. Yes, because they've sent you an offer. A contract of employment is binding. Somebody has sent you an offer and you have accepted that offer, right? And you have sent it back to them and they have acknowledged. And based on that offer, you have put in your resignation. Whatever difficulties that they have, whatever internal restructuring that they have should have been completed before sending out that offer. Okay, so where are you expected to work? Are you expected to go back and retrieve your resignation? Do you get the point I'm trying to make? Are you expected to go back and retrieve your resignation? So yes, it's an offer. Some people will say, but the offer has not yet started, that the contract has not yet started. Yes, the contract has not yet started, but for that contract to start, I have resigned my job. I have done the legal thing to send in my notice period. You have sent me an offer, and based on this offer that you have sent me, I have made certain life-changing decisions. I have resigned my previous place of employment with an intention to resume based on the date communicated in the offer. And you're now telling me that there should be some compensation. There should be some financial compensation to it. And I can't remember of any action now, but I'm sure that if we take time and look through some of the cases at the NIC, National Industrial Court, I believe that there would have been cases of this. But yes, it's a ground for a court case because by virtue of that offer, you have taken a decision that has changed the course of your life. You've resigned because of the intention to resume at their place, and they're now telling you that they can no longer take the offer. There should be some sort of compensation towards that. There's also a saying that you cannot force a willing employee on an unwilling employer and all that, but there should be some sort of compensation. There should be compensation, definitely, because where are you going to work? So yes, it's a ground for a court case, because you resigned based on the offer that they made you.
Oh, thank you very much, Adama, because there are many recruiters we actually have to take to court in this country. Yes. So yes. Thank you for explaining that to me, right? So I want to thank everyone for joining today's call, this month's session, but most importantly, I'd like to thank Adama for honoring our invite and doing this with us. On behalf of the team at Career Life Nigeria, we say a big thank you. We appreciate it so much. And of course, we know anytime we call you, we would always answer. I would then join everyone on this call to search for her on LinkedIn. This her name as seen on the screen, Adama Uguna, and then send her a connection request. She'll be glad to point you in the right direction, career-wise, if you have any issue. This is something Career Life Nigeria does monthly. If you'd like to be a part of our community, if you're not already, visit any of our social media platforms. We remain Career Life Nigeria. That's our handle online. We remain Career Life Nigeria. I will not want to end this call without telling you about our yearly program, which is tagged Employability Business Program. It's the EFP. It happens once a year. And this year, we're going all the way to Port Harcourt. The link to register is down here. If you know anybody in Port Harcourt who should be there, please share this with them and tell them to come. It's free. It's totally free. In fact, you'll be fed and you won't go back with packages. You will leave the venue with packages. You might even get a job on that day because we'll be having a career fair. And all of this is free. If you need further information, more information on this, please feel free to send a mail to us as Career Life Nigeria, carerlifeng@gmail.com. I'm just going to type that in the chat. Yes, that's it. Career Life Nigeria gmail.com. Please feel free to shoot us a mail and we'll be glad to respond. Once again, thank you all so much. And thanks to our convener who made this happen. Yes, thank you, Yusuf, for thanking Adama for doing this with us. Thank you so much, Adama. We can't thank you enough, but
thank you very much, Temi. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
And here is where we draw the curtain for today. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.